I want to tell you a story that my grandfather told to me when I was a young boy. And when he told it to me, he held my hand tightly and he said, I want you to tell this story to as many people as you can. And every time that you tell the story, you have to hold the person's hand. So this Rebbe held Shlomo's hand and told him the story. And now, so to speak, I'm going to hold each of your hands. And he told him it should be told on a Saturday night. And this is a Saturday night. The particular tale is about Moshe the Kretschmer. He got his name because he ran a tavern. As you may know, Jews weren't allowed to own businesses. They rented them. They ran them for others. And they didn't make much money. Sometimes they didn't make any money at all. But they were expected to come up with the rent. And if they didn't, they could be in serious trouble. They could even lose their lives. Their wife, children could be sold as slaves or killed as well. One time, Moshe couldn't make the rent for a few months. The landlord came to him and said, Moshe, if you don't pay the rent by Monday, I'm going to kill you. Moshe was in a panic. He went home, and his wife was a woman of faith. A piece of paper, and he pinned it to his shirt. And off he went to Lezhensk, walking barefoot with a big piece of paper hanging from him. On the way, he ran into some other holy Jews. The Chozeh of Lublin, the great seer of Lublin, Rav Mendel of the Tepes, and the Rav Chitzer Rebbe. They looked at the sight of the grown man with his shoes around his shoulder and a big piece of paper on him, and they said, Bagel, crazy little bird, where are you going? So he said, I'm going to see the Rebbe of Lezhensk because he's going to get me money for the rent. So the Chozeh said to him, well, let me see the note that you have. Moshe was a little hesitant because he knew his writing wasn't so nice. And Chozeh insisted, and finally he looked at the note. And the Chozeh, as he was called, the seer, could look at the words and he was able to see beyond what was written there, and he realized that the landlord indeed wanted to kill Moshe. So he said, Moshe, I want you to promise me that come Monday morning you're going to hide, keep out of sight. Moshe became furious. I don't listen to what you have to say. I'm going to see Rebbe Elimelech, and he's going to give me the rent. So he continued to travel. And when he got to Lezhensk, he comes in, throws a note on the table, and he says, Melech, money for the Melech said, let me see the note. He picks it up. He's able to see that others have looked at it before. And he realizes what the Chozeh told him. So he says, Moshe, when the landlord tells you he wants you to stay, you respond that only if he gives you 10,000 golden coins. Moshe can't believe it. What are you talking about? I have to come up with the rent and this is what you're telling me? He says, you're crazy. Melech, you're supposed to give me money and you're telling me insanity. And with that, he just runs out. He goes back to his town and to his wife and says, maybe this Elimelech of Lezhensk was a great man once, but not anymore. He's lost his marbles. And Moshe was just so upset that he just couldn't think about it, put the whole matter in his mind. Came Monday morning, walking down the street, and along comes his landlord. He says, Moshe, where's the money for the rent? Moshe shrugs and says, I don't have it. The landlord got off his horse, and he started beating Moshe with his whip. And beating him, and beating him. He's broken and bloody. The landlord thought he was dead. They left him lying on the road. But after a few minutes, Moshe was able to get up on all fours, start to crawl slowly back to the inn. And Shlomo said, even the greatest anti-Semite has one Jew that he likes. And Moshe was lucky in that respect as well, because the landlord's wife had a certain liking for Moshe. Because he used to go to the marketplace and find good deals for her. So that Monday, she needed some things, and she was looking all around for Moshe to help her. She couldn't find him. She came home and she said to her husband, do you know where Moshe lives? And he says, oh, forget about him. You know, I beat him today. He's gone. She became furious. What are you talking about? I need him. You better find him. She started hitting her husband. You better bring him to me. So the landlord ran out. Went back to the place where he beat him up. He sees that he's gone. There's a trail of blood. And he follows it towards the inn. When he gets there, he starts yelling for Moshe. Moshe, of course, is afraid. And he remembers what the Chozeh Blin had told him to hide on that money. He didn't listen before, and he wished he had, but now he was going to. So he barricades himself behind the door inside the inn. Doesn't make a sound. And the landlord comes in, he's pounding on every door, and he comes to this one where he can't break in. He says, Moshe, please. You have to come out. I need you. My wife needs you. I'll do anything. Please come out. At that point, he remembers what Rabbi Melech had told him. And as crazy as it was, he says to the landlord, okay, but only if you give me 10,000 coins. Then I'll come out. So the landlord says, fine. Okay, whatever it takes, I'll do it. So Moshe comes out. He heals. He gets better. The landlord helps him in his business. He starts to prosper and thrive. But a year later, his wife says to him, you know, Moshe, look how well we're doing. You've never been back to Lezhensk to tell the Rebbe what happened. So the two of them get in their wagon, they go there. And who happens to be in Lezhensk at the same time? The Chozeh Blin, the Mendel Vitebsk, and the Ravshitzer. So they, together with Rabbi Melech, are sitting there. They say, so, tell us what happened to Rint. Rabbi Melech tells over the story, everything that happened. So Rabbi Melech turns to the Chozeh, to Tzir Lublin, and says to him, you see and I see. You saw up to one point, and I saw what happened after that. And the rabbi from Persia said to Shlomo Karlbach, when I was a little boy, my father told me the story, and I didn't understand why it's so important to tell it to everybody I meet on a Saturday night. But after the Holocaust, I understood. It's important for us to be able to see beyond, so we could rebuild, so we could start all over again. And I tell you the story now, 60 years later, and we look around and we see what we have, and we realize that we were able to see beyond, and we were able to rebuild.